You know, to like, you want to, and it's because I care that I want to take him apart. Like, I want Batman, like, people are always like, well, Batman can't kill, right? So Batman can't kill is canon. And I'm like, okay, well, the first thing I want to do when you say that is I want to see what happens. And they go like, well, don't put him in a situation where he has to kill someone. I'm like, well, that's just like, you're protecting your God in a weird way, right? You're making your God irrelevant if he can't be in that situation.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack here. So Zack Snyder was on Joe Rogan's podcast recently discussing his interpretation of Batman, which has been polarizing. Before I get into it, I want to preface what I'm about to say with this. I don't hate Zack Snyder's movies. I also don't think he's a bad director. Granted, I've only seen films that were based off comic book adaptations, but overall, I would call myself a fan. The first graphic novel he adapted was 300. The film stunned audiences with its use of color and topography and was a major box office success. 300 showcased Zack Snyder's uncanny ability to take the nuances of a comic book panel and turn it into something visually compelling for the big screen. His next comic book adaptation would be Watchmen, one of the greatest graphic novels of all time, and in my opinion, a fairly underrated movie as well. And to his credit, though he often receives slack for his inability to tell a story, his biggest change to the lore of Watchmen, changing the perpetrator on the attack of New York from a giant squid to Dr. Manhattan, was a good decision, and it worked well in the context of the film. He moved on next to the DCEU, though that's been a bit of a mess. I would argue, though, the handful of films in the DCEU, the ones that I feel were the best, the cream of the crop, had Zack Snyder in the director's chair, including one of the best superhero movies of all time. A controversial take, I know, but like I said, I don't think he's a bad director. He's a visualist, that much is certain. And he's far from perfect.
Save Martha!
But I certainly don't think he deserves the brunt of the criticism he receives either. So then, what exactly is my problem with what he said on Joe Rogan? Well, you might be surprised to learn it's not Batman killing. I've watched the Batman films more times than I can count, and I can tell you that in most movies, he's a murdering son of a bitch. Sometimes maliciously, sometimes because he has no other choice, and sometimes through poorly constructed loopholes that feel like something a wet behind the ears public defender might argue in court.
I won't kill you. But I don't have to save you.
No, Batman, you kinda do, but I digress. Batman refusing to kill is a fundamental trait that makes up the core of the character. His life was changed because of murder. He understands the consequences of death better than most, particularly the unexpected death of a parent and how that could affect the child. I mean, he's a grown man in a bat suit who beats people half to death with his bare hands every night. He's a walking billboard for trauma. And probably therapy, but that's a different video. This is also why he doesn't use guns. Something Snyder didn't have a problem putting in his own film. The stakes were higher. This wasn't a bargain bin Zodiac or a figure skater with a crossword puzzle complex. Affleck's Batman inhabited a world with aliens, robots, magic beings, and the like. So I don't fully fault him for using guns. I don't even fault him for murdering, to be honest. Do I care for it? No. My favorite version of Batman is a character of finesse, and it takes far more finesse to disarm someone with a ninja star or a batarang or a boomerang or a hunting knife, balloon animal, I don't know, pick your poison, than it does to disarm somebody with another firearm. And to be honest, the comic book landscape is littered with characters who live and die by the gun. Punisher, Deadpool, Rocket Raccoon, Cable, Judge Dredd, Spawn, or even War Machine who wears guns like tacky Christmas ornaments. So I wouldn't say guns are my issue. No, my issue is this.
You're making your God irrelevant if he can't be in that situation. He has to now deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, if he does do that, what does that mean? What does it tell you? But does he stand up to it? Can he survive that? Right? As a God, as your God, can Batman survive that?
Now, I absolutely see what he's trying to accomplish here. Who doesn't love a gritty deconstruction of a beloved character? The human element of a comic book character has been what's kept Batman engaging for decades. That's honestly what made Watchmen work so well. At the core of these characters is a sense of vulnerability that allows the reader to connect with them, despite the grandiose nature of the world they inhabit. Would a man with the powers of a god really dedicate his life to rescuing human beings, or would he just grow tired of our seemingly insignificant squabbles?
I am tired of Earth. These people. I'm tired of being caught in the tangle of their lives.
And that is a deconstruction, a true deconstruction of a character. Now that begs the question at the heart of Batman vs. Superman, and that is, could a vigilante who spent 20 years chasing down sociopaths lose his way? Absolutely. Of course he could. I mean, why wouldn't he? And here's the thing. That concept of Batman breaking bad is inherently interesting. There's something to be admired about people with a code. That's why characters like Omar Little, for example, in The Wire work so well.
Hey, look, I ain't never put my gun on no citizen.
People respect the code, and I think that's in part why Batman is more successful than the other gun-wielding superheroes I named previously. So him breaking that code, the one he made kneeling in his parents' blood, that conflict would be compelling. I don't know if it would work necessarily, but I could tell you it would keep audiences engaged. So my issue isn't necessarily Batman using guns or killing. My issue is that this deconstruction he discusses never happened in the movie. He's describing a better movie. In Batman vs. Superman, Batman treats murder as a means to an end. These criminals simply got in the way. There's no remorse, there's no analyzing, there's no deconstruction taking place. Batman never reflects. He never thinks, what if these men I'm killing are fathers? Then I'm no better than the man that killed my parents. The only sense of remorse we see in the movie is his relationship with Superman. Now, to their credit, Batman's loss of humanity is saved through him meeting Superman. He realizes Superman has a mom and he remembers having a mom, so somehow he sees his humanity in Superman. And that explanation still feels flimsy. I mean, Superman is an alien. What are the rules when it comes to murdering aliens? Is it like murdering an animal? He doesn't kill Superman anymore because he sees humanity in Superman, but he doesn't really have a problem killing other aliens, especially in the sequel. Hell, he makes a day of it. We also never see the cause of this anger. What exactly turned Snyder's Batman into the Punisher? The truth is we don't know. It's hinted that this is due to the death of Robin, and that would track. Batman became increasingly more violent in the comic books after the death of Jason Todd. But to see such a lack of empathy for human life without seeing how he got there is a missed opportunity. Maybe they were planning a Robin flashback in a different film, but I shouldn't have to watch another movie to learn a character's motivations. So what I'm left with is a Batman who kills without a second thought, and in terms of deconstructing his motives, I have no idea why he kills, and he seems seemingly unaffected by the death he creates and the effects it has on the people around the victims. Another point worth mentioning is Snyder's interpretation of The Dark Knight Returns, because I don't think he actually understands it. I've read The Dark Knight Returns far more times than I care to remember, and Batman's stance on murder in that book isn't the narrative device that Scott Snyder described to Rogan. In fact, the panel he's describing doesn't actually happen the way he describes it.
So in Dark Knight Returns, there's a scene where, and I copied it kind of in Batman vs. Superman, where he grabs the M60, he busts through the wall, and he grabs the M60, and he's like, the guy's like, in the comic book, he's like got this kid. The mutant has this kid with a gun to his head, and he's like, I'll kill him, I swear I'll do it. And Batman says, I believe you. And he shoots him straight in the head.
There's no headshot. Batman does wield a gun, and he shoots a mutant. Now, it's hard to see where exactly he shot the mutant. Looks like maybe the shoulder or the arm, but he definitely doesn't shoot him in the head. Also, Frank Miller is very careful in the way that he handles Batman when it comes to killing and his use of firearms in the book.
Rubber bullets. Honest.
The most damning piece of evidence against Batman not killing the mutant comes from the new commissioner. She puts out an APB for all the crimes Batman has committed, including assault, breaking and entering, and creating a public hazard. but she doesn't mention murder. And it's something she would be privy to, as this was a high-profile case involving the kidnapping of an heir to a rich family. My last issue is Snyder's use of the word canon. You can have a Batman who goes too far, but having him not kill or be empathetic is not a matter of breaking canon. It's betraying the spirit of the character. When Batman is written well, this is undeniable. Just look at Batman the Animated Series. This version of Batman actually owns a halfway home and runs a jobs program through his own company to help get criminals back on their feet.
I'm at Wayne Enterprises.
After all the harm I've done, a new home, a second chance. There must be a guardian angel watching over me.
It's a far cry from the Zack Snyder version of Batman, who brands the criminals he catches in an effort to have them murdered in prison by the other inmates.
Mark, man, you know what to do to people with this on them?
I'll close in saying that I don't think Snyder's version of Batman was a deconstruction, at least in terms of killing people. I think at the end of the day, like a lot of Zack Snyder movies, the only reason he killed people is because he looked really cool doing it. Do me a favor, smash the like button and hit the subscribe button, or smash the subscribe or hit the like. Just hit subscribe and like. Until next time, same bat time.